Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers squeak out a win against the Wizards in overtime and now face a murderer's row over the next week. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everyone for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on weekends, as you'll find out on Sunday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one is always free, never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 23,000 subscribers, all of whom are breathing a sigh of relief after the Lakers squeaked by the Washington Wizards, the 9-win Washington Wizards. But they needed overtime to do it, but they won. Hey, it beats the alternative. So the Lakers have won 2 straight, and 134-131 the final there. Now on Saturday, we'll play the Denver Nuggets, and we'll need to play significantly better. Do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. I mentioned, guys, after Thursday's show that Andy would be on the radio and we would welcome special guest Harrison Fagan from Silver Screen and Roll and the SB Nation blog and a series of blogs. It's just a friend of everyone's, not just this show, but all of them. And it turned out Andy isn't doing radio, much to our disappointment. But Harrison still here anyway. Thank you, Harrison, for coming. And we appreciate it. Sorry, Andy.
Yeah, I feel like a little bit of a less special guest now, but that's okay. I'll still take it.
All right. The Lakers have won. To break down this game, it's like it is what it is. They won. It was not ideal. It was not pleasant. I think most people thought, like Harrison, like this is gonna be one of those games. Okay, fine. Like ideally, you blow them out of the water, but second night of a back-to-back, let's just do the thing where it's close at halftime, but you kind of pull away a little bit in the third and then pull away a little bit more in the fourth. And it kind of looked like they were going to do that. And then, no, they just wouldn't close. They just could not close, would not close, and suddenly found themselves one Jordan Poole miracle 3 away from losing this game. But they did manage to win it in overtime. It didn't leave a good taste.
It does feel a little bit like you've heard the term moral victory. This was a moral defeat. Okay. The Lakers, they won the game in the standings. It still counts. Even wins against the Wizards still count. The Wizards, they tried like hell. They wanted to get, their first win in February, and they got an extra day of the month this year, to do that. They still could not quite get it done. And eventually, sort of gave up. I thought it was very funny that at the end, Kuz didn't even bother doing we're still technically in this. I could foul, Rui. Maybe he'll miss both. Whatever. It's like, no, let's pack it in. I got dinner reservations. It's we're not winning this game.
Well, and he was already running late for him because of the overtime.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, and I mean, look, this is probably one of his few trips to LA this year. Hey, like priorities. How much does that win really mean for the Wizards?
Sure, there's some 1 a.m. fashion show that he needs to get to ASAP.
It's one of these things where the game itself, you look at Anthony Davis, had a massive game, as you would expect, because Washington's best big is Marvin Bagley, I guess. And they don't have anyone else capable of guarding Davis. And so he played a good game, 40 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks. LeBron saved them a couple times in the OT, 31 points, 9 assists. A huge chase down block of Jordan Poole in the OT. Like, it's a little bit more like it was a little bit like a version of the game on Wednesday, where the Lakers, they beat the Clippers, but like nothing about that game felt like a blueprint or made you feel good or anything like that. It's like you can't replicate, let's fall down by 21 and let LeBron go nuclear and hold the other team to 16 points, and then we'll win. And so they've won 2 in a row, Andy, but I don't feel good about either win necessarily.
Well, I feel good about the Clippers win in the sense that it takes a hell of a lot of resolve to make that happen. You have to. I understand LeBron went nuts from behind the arc, but other guys made shots too that were really important. The defense collectively was really, really good. There is an element of the Clippers crapping the bed, obviously, and if they have Paul George and Ivica Zubac, maybe this doesn't happen. But regardless, I don't see that win over the Clippers as anything other than a positive because it's historic level comeback. So I don't agree with you on that.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't positive. I'm saying it's not something where you can say the Lakers have stumbled upon something or really have rounded back into a form that makes you feel good about Denver, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, et cetera, that they've got coming up.
Sure, I guess. And I mean, through that lens, no, there's no real takeaway from the Wizards game. Even the guys who played well in this game or put up good stat lines, everybody was pretty sloppy. Like Harrison, I could not tell necessarily if this was the Lakers looking ahead to Denver, being mentally fried after the Clippers game, being physically exhausted, combination of all of the above. It was really, really ugly basketball. I mean, frankly, the Lakers tweeted this out. Other than D'Angelo Russell autographing a baby after the game, you can see he is holding a baby. It appears in one hand and signing it with his left. That was a top 5 moment from this game.
Bugs me though about this
in the game.
You know what bugs me about
AI's
this?
not that good yet, but D'Angelo Russell is signing a baby really is like AI, Lakers x Talladega Nights prompt. That's incredible. Thank you, Lakers, for tweeting out I'm actually putting it number 1 moment of tonight. It's not even top 5. That is the greatest moment of the night.
Well, you won't be so happy and cavalier about it after that baby pops up on eBay. The autograph. I mean,
autograph hounds. There's no links they won't go to. It's not even their baby. They just took it there.
These are lean times across America. Everybody's got to make a buck somehow.
Yeah, it's just maybe I'm cynical. I don't know, but at least it's authenticated. They have the photo to authenticate this baby, this autograph baby.
It's gonna pass the StockX verifier test.
Right.
When that baby goes into the distribution center, they're gonna be like, nope, yeah, this is the baby. We're looking at the photo right now. This is the one D'Lo signed.
We can start a little bit on this. Before the break and carry it over after it. The Lakers were 9-3 in February. They've won 9 of 12. That's good. 9 of 12 is really good. Is there a Lakers fan anywhere who is walking around feeling with the confidence of their team having won 9 of 12? No, I don't think there is, but maybe am I reading this wrong?
I mean, I think some of that is how online all three of us are, in that we see a lot of the nitpicks, and also we're paying a lot of attention really closely to these games, and it's you can see stuff we were talking before the show, Darvin electing not to use a timeout when he had 2 that he took to the end of the game, basically, that just expired, that you don't get to carry those into overtime to get LeBron back in with 2 minutes sooner than basically he did when LeBron was at the scorer's table ready to check himself back in.
For people missing, LeBron takes a quick break. I'm sure this was on LeBron to raise his hand. I need a minute. Goes to the bench, sits down, and comes back in, staying at the scorer's table for 90 seconds while the Lakers are losing their lead. And Darvin did not call timeout to get him back in. Those are the moments, Andy, where you wonder if Darvin has a side deal with Elon Musk to raise traffic on Twitter, because it blows up at those moments.
And it's like you see stuff like that. And so it's like, how do I feel positive about this team? I'm so mad at them all the time for these little things that they're doing and these things that they could be doing better. It's, you know, the entire fan base is sort of tiger momming them. And then there's little stuff like, you know, the schedule hasn't necessarily been the hardest so far, and it's about to get a lot harder. And the defense has been really bad, which is sort of, you know, at times that can be harder to sort of take that positive feeling away from. At least for me, it's someone watching these games of like, yeah, like they won, they got hot enough from three to win that game, but it's hard to feel like, you know, when you're just giving up a layup line at the other end, it's hard to feel like, oh man, we're really rolling, you know, when it's like, yeah, they've had like a top 3 offense in the last month, I think, or something like that. But I think they've probably, I don't know where they rank defensively, but it can't possibly be good. It's like got to be in the bottom 5, bottom, you know, 8. Yeah.
All right. So, Andy, I'll ask you the same question after the break. We're going to cover that, and then we will look ahead to Saturday against the Nuggets, and again, a brutal stretch of games coming up for the Lakers, a test to say the least. All that coming up next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel, and you can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 just if your bet wins, only $5. It's that easy. And you can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props. Obviously, you can bet on the Lakers winning championship, Anthony Davis, defensive player of the year, LeBron, MVP odds, all sorts of different Lakers-centric bets right there. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
Locked on Lakers also brought to you by Logix. You know, on this show, you get a lot of in-depth analysis and hot takes, right? Well, let me give you my hottest take of the day. The best lineup in LA and the surrounding areas right now is the lineup of auto loans at Logix. They start off at the top with my favorites, the proven and dependable new and used vehicle loans. You can count on these guys to give you low rates and save you big time bucks. Next up, they've got an exciting new rookie sensation in their electric vehicle loans with super low rates and flexible payment terms. And rounding out their lineup, they've got auto financing loans and lease buyout loans. And with these guys, you can lower your monthly payments and get onto the road to owning your car faster. Now, look, I know it's a hot take, but seriously, no one can beat the lineup at Logix. So visit your local Logix branch right here in LA and the surrounding areas and let one of their amazing team members help you. Or just apply online in minutes at logixbanking.com/car. That's LOGIX banking.com/car. I mean, it's not crazy, Andy, to think this is like the least inspiring team on a 9-3 streak. Certainly that you've seen in a while.
I've mentioned this a couple times over the last week, and it's still apropos, and I think it explains a lot of what you're talking about. The Lakers are still the only team in the NBA with a record above 500 and a negative point differential. And we're 60 games into the season, roundabouts, and it's been basically this way for the Lakers. If they had a positive differential at any point in this season, we are long since past it. And I think it explains why the top end of this team can still look like a group that you're not going to want to face in the playoffs, assuming the Lakers are a part of said playoffs. But it also explains why it's hard to feel really confident about this team or really even get a bead on who they are, because in certain respects, Harrison, it takes real effort to be 5 games above 500 and have a negative point differential. Like you got to want it.
Yeah, the refs have really just sort of wanted it all year for the Lakers, and according to some NBA fans after some of these games, and maybe less so recently, but that has been a sort of a talking point all year. Like I think that this team, I mean, it does speak to moments like last night more so than this one, where LeBron can go out there and he can sort of steal you a win in the fourth quarter if you can keep him close enough. But you're not going to be blowing very many teams out. I think that is sort of where that point differential, to me, that anecdotally, that's where I guess it comes from, just from watching these games, is that it feels like the Lakers, when they win, it's usually these kind of fairly tight, down to the wire type of things, and then when they lose, it's like, oh man, they just really do not have it tonight. And so I think that's how you sort of end up there. And, I was tweeting about this last night during the Clippers game. And, it's a similar vibe tonight, where I just don't know. It feels like an indictment to me that this Lakers team, for their energy, is still so much look to LeBron of like, okay, how hard is he going? Like, are we going to go, like, are we going to sort of rise up to that level tonight? Or are we, going to sort of slog through it? And I just don't know if that's a reliable recipe where you're looking to your 39-year-old star for energy inspiration.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. I mean, to be fair to the other guys, most teams take their cues from their leaders and their best players. And, as much as it's obviously, I agree with you, Harrison, it's not ideal that one of those North Stars is 39 years old and 21 seasons into the league. But at the same time, though, like, you spend a lot of this season looking to pace LeBron. And I think Anthony Davis is the best player on this team, but LeBron is really, really important. And when a player of that importance is to some degree pacing himself through the first 3 months of the season, it may not be excusable that what you're talking about happens in terms of the other guys still looking to LeBron for, those sort of cues. But it's actually pretty typical of what happens on both teams. And it may not be as big of a deal now because I think LeBron is in serious ramp it up mode because of where we are in the schedule and the importance of these games. But I think it speaks to the general trickiness of how unique the setup is on this team.
No, I mean, I agree with you. And I think that is, to your point, somewhat human nature. I get it, what you're saying, but it's also like, okay, like, sorry, Rui, you don't get to sort of base your energy on, you're not 39. You just don't get to do that. And right, but I just don't understand. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but I don't feel like Rui, just as a random example.
I was using him as an example. I'm not.
No.
I
get that. I didn't think you meant Rui specifically, but like broadly, Rui, I don't think is the type of player that is necessarily going to be galvanizing the team in the first place. Like, he doesn't have that type of leadership role, and he's not really in the pecking order, and he's not like a Derek Fisher type elder spokesman, sort of like elder statesman, like that kind of guy.
The only counterpoint that I would make is, like, you look at when Jared Vanderbilt came back into the lineup, and all of a sudden, like, he through how hard he was playing, it almost sort of, just bumped everyone up another level. Sure. Because, like, all of a sudden you look like you are moving, people are listening to, it looks like everyone else is sort of podcasting on half speed, basically, if you're going up against Jared Vanderbilt and he's, sort of speaking on double speed, like, it just, and this team just doesn't, I think maybe that is sort of the biggest flaw in how the roster is constructed, is there just aren't a lot of those dirty work guys that are going to.
I think that's what I was going to say, is that the Lakers roster, Andy and I talked about this a little bit for Thursday's show, but the everydayers, they don't mind hearing it again. The Lakers have been kind of like the sort of veneer of health from Anthony Davis and LeBron James, which obviously is important, has framed a lot of the conversation around the team of like, how can you only be 5 games over 500 with LeBron and AD healthy the whole year, and so on and so on. But the interior of the roster has been eaten away at different ways all year long. And, what we're finding is, and I 1000% undervalued this at the beginning of the season, absolutely wrong, misjudged it, and didn't see sort of the full roster experience that we had here. But like there's redundancy in some areas, but there's not redundancy in that area. Like when you lose Vanderbilt, there isn't another one of these sort of energy guys and grinding guys to kind of lift up the rest.
I
of the
actually
group.
think Gabe Vincent was supposed
Yeah.
to be
Supposed to
maybe
be,
the
but he's
other
been
guy
hurt all
if
year,
it wasn't
right.
Vanderbilt.
And so, they've been
And
short
even
these
Cam, to
guys.
some degree, has contributed in that
Yeah.
respect when he's been out
Yes.
there. Although
And
he
he's-
also does some of the offensive stuff as the guys who are like
And
too cool for school occasionally.
Vincent-
So it's a mixed bag there.
Reddish, by the way, Cam, he only played 4 minutes in this game, and Darvin said afterwards that ankle that he just returned from was starting to feel sore a bit, so they were just being cautious ahead of Denver. Like, it doesn't sound like they're expecting him to miss that game, but it's a little bit unsettling that one game in, or I guess one game and 4 minutes in, it's already starting to bother him again.
like missing Jared Vanderbilt. He's not the best player on the team, but he's somebody that they can't replicate at all.
He's arguably the most specific player on the team.
Mm-hmm. So it becomes really problematic. Well, let's see, though, how you guys are feeling about the next 6 games, because it should be fun to watch, at the very least, in terms of the quality of talent the Lakers are playing. Let's talk about the upcoming March stretch next.
Locked on Lakers brought to you by PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. The easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports is just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. It is demon time on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Demons and goblins, they are the newest and most exciting way to play at PrizePicks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins get you different payouts. And PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. Plus, it's an excuse to get yourself some tacos as part of the theme. So go to PrizePicks. They now offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this basketball season. Go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for your first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Well, if you like games against contenders, guys, have I got a stretch of games for you. Saturday, it starts with Denver. That's an ABC game, 5:30 tip. Then the Lakers turn around on, I believe that's Monday, and they play Oklahoma City. On Wednesday, it's Sacramento. On Friday next week, it's Milwaukee. Then it's Minnesota. And then it's Sacramento again. And then it's the red-hot Golden State Warriors. The Lakers do not see a team that anybody would call crappy until the 18th when they play Atlanta. Then they get Philly and Indiana and then Milwaukee again. So it is a brutal stretch of games for the Lakers. On the other hand, they do have a tendency to play up to their competition. And all but one of those games that I mentioned are at home. The game on the 13th against Sacramento, the second of the Sacramento games, is in Sacramento. So they don't even have to leave the state to play any of these games. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games against playoff or incredibly red hot teams or both. What is a good run here, Harrison?
Well, first of all, I'm going to decide in about 7 games how much I like games against contenders and teams with really good players. I'll have to get back to you at that point. They're
not even like mid-level playoff teams. It's like the top 3 teams in the West, the Warriors who have won 8 of 10, and I guess the semi-slumping Kings. Like those are your easy games.
Yeah, I mean, I think with what you're mentioning sort of about the home schedule and just sort of, I mean, it's that time of year. Like it's time, these games should mean more to the Lakers than they should to other teams. And the Lakers, every single game, every single night matter. The Warriors are obviously still fighting for seeding and these teams are fighting for seeding to varying degrees, but the Lakers are trying to make sure that they get to host at least one play-in game is sort of where they're at. And so all of these games should mean a ton to them. And I think, I mean, to be honest, like, I think if we're going to take them seriously as a team that can, win 2 play-in rounds just to get to the playoffs, like, I think you at least need to go, like 5-2 in this stretch. I'm not saying you have to go undefeated or anything like that, but that's sort of what they're going to that's going to be the standard for them in about a month or so, if they're going to even make the postseason. And so they really need to sort of, I think, step it up.
Yeah, I agree with you, Harrison. I mean, to some degree, if they can't perform credibly and rack up a few wins during the stretch, there is an element of what are we even worrying about for? Because it stands to reason that most likely, however long they're in the play-in or the playoffs, it's not going to be that long of a run if they keep coming up short against playoff caliber teams. You look at this game they have in Sacramento, they're now only a game and a half behind them for that 8th seed. Sacramento's been slumping of late. They are good at home, but they're not unbeatable this season. They haven't been dominating at home. The Lakers
have been to the Lakers in the last year or so, but point taken.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's how they're playing right now. I mean, one of the things that I talked about a lot heading into that game against the Clippers is of late the Clippers had been scuffling. They were 4-4 heading into that game against the Lakers. All 4 of their losses were against good teams, and they lost by double digits. So you have to try to capitalize on some degree of vulnerability. The Lakers have played Oklahoma City with success this year. They've beaten them. Denver, I don't know the status of Jamal Murray, but he got hurt tonight in the game that they played, and he didn't return. So against Miami.
I personally think he should rest.
I saw Mike Malone say he's going to travel and they'll see if he can play, but it doesn't sound like it's a certainty by any means.
I mean, right. So, guy who's had ankle injuries, and they're going to be very careful, and he should rest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried about the lad. He really should take a load off.
He's too important for them.
Yeah, I mean, all joking aside, he really is too important for them. Like this game is far more important for the Lakers than it is for Denver. But, if Jamal Murray doesn't play, or if he's clearly favoring something, like, again, there's opportunity for the Lakers. And if they are, Harrison, a team that we should actually be still trying to project what they could do in the playoffs, this ultimately should be revealing a lot about them. And again, like we talked about before with LeBron and the cues that are taken from him, for better or for worse, however understandable or inexcusable it is, this is a time where we've seen LeBron's play over the last few games. Not an issue at this point.
No, and, sort of to Brian, to your point earlier about the, is this the least hyped sort of 9-3 team? Like, I will say, if the Lakers come out of this stretch 5-2, I think fans will be a lot more excited, regardless of sort of what the games look like or whatever. Like, this is one where the results really do sort of, stand alone more so than just how it looked. Like, if the Lakers can rack up that sort of production in this stretch, I think people are going to start taking them a little bit more seriously.
Like, they are 21-9 at home. Like, this is a team that is played very well at home. They're god awful on the road, but they played very well at home. And, and they've played some of these teams well. And so, I do think it really, like, this Denver game is really important. Like, if you start off with a win against, the Nuggets, who won 5 in a row, you barely lost to them the last time, and LeBron didn't play in that game. Like, you need to start this stretch off with a positive effort. I like the game starts at 5:30 and not 12:30 on Saturday. Like, it is set up about as well as you're going to get for something like this that the Lakers have to go through to at least, again, establish themselves as a credible team.
Okay, the framing of this conversation over the last couple segments has definitely been with a degree of uncertainty, and you might even say pessimism. What has you most optimistic, Harrison? Like, in terms of looking at this team and thinking about, all right, here's what I'm seeing that actually could be the foundation of something positive moving forward.
I think I mean, for me, the number one thing, especially in the last little while, it has been the play of Anthony Davis. You called him the Lakers' best player, and I was wondering if I was being sort of hyperbolic when I was talking with someone about that today. Is like, I think AD's been like a little more important than LeBron this year. Like LeBron's obviously hugely important. He's he's irreplaceable, but Anthony Davis is the guy that they can least afford to lose, and the guy who they just don't have anyone on the roster who can sort of make up for the types of things that he brings to the table. Their big depth is just bad. Like even when Christian Wood is healthy, Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood are just like not great NBA players. And I think that the Lakers have done a really, really good job in this recent stretch, especially. And I think you've seen this in the offensive improvement in just sort of remembering sounds almost dismissive to say, but to some degree it is. Like they're remembering to keep Anthony Davis involved in the offense. And, I know that sometimes people feel like this is an excuse and it lets AD off the hook, but like there have been times, and I'm sure you guys have, viewed the same thing, where the team just does go away with him. They start jacking threes, and it has seemed like both he has made more of a conscious effort to continue to make himself available. And I think they've been doing a better job of finding him, putting him in a position to score. Getting 40 points against the Wizards tonight is not something necessarily to like throw a parade over or anything, but it is indicative. There are a lot of nights I felt like earlier this season where he wouldn't have had 40 just because they like stopped passing the ball to him and they were just happy to jack up the open threes that they were getting.
I'll give you one other thing that makes me really quick, Brian, optimistic moving forward. When we were coming out of the All-Star break, Brian and I were going through reasons for optimism, reasons for pessimism, or at least just cautiousness. And D'Lo is such a streaky player and had been so hot heading into the All-Star break. I was concerned about what happens when he has 7 or 8 days off. Does that accelerate him into a period of negative streakiness? That has not been the case at all. If you look at his numbers post All-Star break, they're actually better than pre-All-Star. And D'Lo has had a really good year this year. I mean, like, I know all the talk heading into this year was about Austin. D'Angelo Russell's their third best player. Like, he just is.
Yeah.
And he's been really, really good for the majority of this season, and he's still playing extremely well. That's important.
Yeah, and for me, the supporting cast, for the Lakers to make a deep run, I think they're going to need to get some guys back on the floor, but there's still time for that. They don't need Jared Vanderbilt to play 10 games to like, they just need to be, if he can play, they need to be available and able to be kind of Jared Vanderbilt-y. And we'll see what happens with the other guys. They need as many options as they can. But I am still willing to lean into, if you have Anthony Davis playing at an MVP caliber, which he is, he's not going to win it, but he's playing at that level. And this version of LeBron that we're getting sort of post break now, this healthy version doing what he's done in the last couple of games, that is a top 2 that can beat any team in the league. And when you look at the West broadly, it's so good that I think it plays into the advantages of the Lakers, because every team is going to be, it's going to be like a brutal grind for every team. There is no easy matchup. The Pelicans, if they're healthy, are very good. The Mavericks are playing very well. The Suns, if Beal comes back, still has that top 3. If Paul George is available, the Clippers are incredibly formidable. The Wolves have lost 17 times this year. I love the Thunder. It's like Golden State's playing well. The only team you look at right now and you say, I don't know, right now is Sacramento, but that's still a very good team. And so it's so wide open that I actually think it can help a team like the Lakers. Individual matchups are going to dictate this playoffs, and there are teams that they match up pretty well against. So we'll see.
The West really does feel like a really, really expanded, like 8-player version of rock, paper, scissors. Like it's just there are.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what the other 5 items are in this expanded, rock, paper, scissors analogy or whatever. It's like
corkscrew. Like, think of all the stuff in a Swiss Army knife. Like,
right. Tiny. Well, no, I was about to say those tiny scissors, but scissors are already in titularly rock, paper, scissors. So
nail file.
Right. There you go. Bottle opener.
Mm-hmm. Baseball bat. It's
what kind of Swiss Army knife are you using? Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 23,000 subscribers to the channel. Be sure to check out everything happening at SB Nation. If you like it, Harrison was responsible for curating it. If you don't, it was one of the underlings, and Harrison's working on making that person better. So make sure you're checking out everything going on over there. We will see everybody after Saturday's game against the Nuggets. Have a great Friday.